7 days. Get downtown for the Strawberry Jam on Friday the 26th, and then on Saturday for the Sprint and Roll Scavenger Hunt and Berries Bash. Then on May 4th at Walter Elijah Park, it's live music, a wing contest, ice cream, kid zone, and strawberries. Visit scstrawberryfestival.com for a complete list of events and times. That's scstrawberryfestival.com. How sweet it is!
I'm Therese Crowley. Campus chaos spreading during Passover. NYPD suspects agitators are funding the tent camps. 133 arrested NYU last night. Donald Trump arriving for his New York trial says it's a mess and it's on President Biden.
It starts with Joe Biden. The signals he puts out are so bad. And I can tell you, he's no friend of Israel, that's for sure. And he's no friend of the Arab world either.
President Biden says he denounces anti-Semitism, but also denounces people who don't know what's going on with the Palestinians. Protests today from Berkeley to Vanderbilt to Rice to Tufts. A hearing before today's Trump trial whether to fine or jail the former president over claims that he violated his gag order 10 times. Pent-up demand for a new house. New home sales jumped a surprising 8.8% in March. America's listening to Fox News.
Prom season has arrived. This is Tiffany
and Rose of Empire Pizza. Together with other businesses and the OTS media station, we're urging students to make the right choice
and get involved with Prom Pledge.
When you sign the pledge, you make a commitment to healthy living.
This is Joe Miller from Winthrop University. DUI means driving under the influence. It also means don't use it. Don't use alcohol and drugs.
Other businesses that support Prom Pledge include
Norman Hagee Jewelers, H&R Block, B&B Distributors, 321 Signs and Graphics, Babcock Furniture, and Jonathan Brown Electric.
I'm Forrest Wilkerson with the law offices of Wilkerson, Jones & Wilkerson, reminding students to leave alcohol and drugs out of your prom celebration and don't get into a car with a driver who has been drinking.
Join the stations of OTS Media, our local business partners, and your fellow students, and say no to alcohol and drugs. Log on to prompledgesc.com and find out all about the Prom Pledge activities at your school.
In the news center, I'm Stephen Stone. Slowly but surely, damage is being cleaned up and power is being restored across the city of Rock Hill and other parts of York County. Over 150 linemen and workers were out yesterday and Sunday, along with other city staffers trying to get everything back to normal. Mike Jowey is Director of Electric Utilities for the city of Rock Hill.
Yeah, so we thought it was 50 to 60. We're up over 70 poles now that have been broken, plus over 50 transformers that are have to be replaced on those poles, and we're still finding it. So it's been a very significant event.
Mr. Jowey adds the purchasing department within the city had them ready in terms of supplies and replacements to get power restored. And the World Health Organization is warning that bird flu is spreading through cattle in the U.S. The chief scientist at the World Health Organization says it's an enormous concern. While there is no evidence that the HSN1 flu virus can spread from person to person, there have been more mammals testing positive for the virus over the past 2 years, which may mean that the virus is moving closer to people.
WRHI Rock Hill, W261CY Rock Hill. Good Pharmacy, Rock Hill's hometown pharmacy for over 60 years. Camden Avenue at Ebenezer Road. Straight Talk on WRHI FM 100.1 and CN2 is presented by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders. Now here's Manning Kimmel broadcasting live from Substation 2 on Cherry Road in Rock Hill with Straight Talk, selected by the South Carolina Broadcasters Association as the state's top public affairs program.
And a good afternoon. Welcome into Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop for another edition of our Straight Talk program presented by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders. Our thanks to our co-sponsor today, Anderson Griggs Investments at Old Town Rock Hill. Common sense, intelligent advice for conservative investors. You can find out more online at andersongriggs.com. And our thanks to Good Pharmacy, your hometown pharmacy, Ebenezer Road at Camden Avenue in Rock Hill. I have never, ever done a program about the Lake Wylie Marine Commission until today. And lo and behold, who comes across the table but the chairman of this fine, austere organization, Mr. Ray Weber. And Ray, thank you for coming on down and being here. Yeah. He looks excited, I can tell, to be on the program. So we always start off the program by getting our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves. That means you.
Yep. I'm a former Indiana guy. I've moved around a bit.
A Hoosier?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
But I retired a couple years ago from banking and insurance, and have been involved with a number of different volunteer organizations, including the Lake Wylie Marine Commission. So.
Right. My friend, mutual friend Eddie Brown says I'm a recovering banker.
I am definitely a recovering mortgage banker. But if you want to talk about derivatives, I probably forgot about most of it.
No. Yeah. So the Lake Wylie Marine Commission, it was put together like when?
1987. It was put together by state laws in both North Carolina and South Carolina, and it's a governing body for the lake. Lake Norman has one. I think that there used to be one in Mountain Island, but I think that on the Catawba chain, it's Lake Norman and us.
Good. So I gather your representation on the commission is equal numbers of North Carolinas and South Carolina?
No, it's equal numbers by county.
By county?
And so there's 3 counties, York, Gaston, and Mecklenburg.
Okay.
And each county has 3 county commissioners, Lake Wylie county commissioners, that are appointed by the county they work for. So,
right.
And background checks and,
Okay.
So
your job is to, I guess, do all good things that you can possibly do for the lake?
Yeah, there's a mission statement. I can read it if you want. It's probably easier so I don't mess it up. But it's to promote public policy and support regulations for the preservation of Lake Wylie, its wildlife, the education and safety of the citizens who use this resource. So
okay.
Basically, protect and serve.
I can remember, I don't know how many years ago it was, but it's been a while, when there was an effort, I can't remember the name of the river. North Carolina wanted to draw more water out of Lake Wylie.
Yep.
And there was a big hue and cry about that. I want to say it had to do with the Yadkin River Basin or something like that.
Okay.
And all kinds of people got involved with it. They got it resolved. But is that a kind of an issue that the commission would get involved with?
We would participate in that. Typically, that's being driven by Duke Power because they own Lake Wylie. Now, there's a lot of shareholders, and we support Duke Energy for a lot of their efforts. So, but yeah, we would be part of that. We would not be the decision-making process.
Oh yeah, it involved the state legislatures,
Yep.
and it was quite something. So your decisions are ones that have to pass grace by Duke?
Duke owns the lake. And at the end of the day, everybody needs to understand that. Duke Energy owns the lake. They're under the auspices of federal regulations because they've got a nuclear power plant sitting on there, so they have to comply with, they call them FERC, they're Federal Energy Regulatory.
Right.
So they're the behest of some of the federal guidelines, state guidelines. Typically, because we're so intimate with the development and the status of the lake, everything that involves the lake or the boundaries typically comes past us. We rarely approve anything. We'll just not object. If there's something like right now where they're doing some things for the Highway 74 expansion bridge.
Right.
Well, they wanted us to opine on where it was going to be, how it was going to be structured, how they were going to manage the buoys and the construction along the lake so that it didn't become a hazard. So, and we couldn't really approve or deny, but we had some suggestions.
So if I were to be able to purchase a home on Lake Wylie, and it did not have a dock, and I wanted to have a boat, do I have to do something with you to get approval on that dock?
No, you don't. That's a total Duke decision, and the reason I say that is Duke doesn't just own the lake. They own a buffer area around it. I think it's like 50 feet from the high water mark. And anything in that area has to be approved or permitted by Duke.
Okay.
And I probably can't speak much more to that.
All right.
So, because I have never built a dock, and I have a Duke-approved dock on my property.
Okay.
So
what about the parks? The parks that are on the lake? That's just all Duke as well, or do you get involved with that?
We do.
You do?
When a park, and there's a couple of them, like Ebenezer just got put in, and South, what's it called? South Point was just put in up in...
Allison Creek?
Yeah. When they're on the plans, they're on the plans in several ways. They're probably on the plans at the FERC level, because that's a 20-year agreement with Duke Power. So it stipulates what they want done, what has to be done, and within that they do put recreational areas in that agreement.
Okay.
So, but if something's going to be built, like when they did Ebenezer, we got complaints from mostly fishermen that when you come around that corner, you couldn't see it in the fog. So we were asked to work with York County to see if we can get some lights put on that circular dock that went out there so that people could see them. So we didn't do it, but we worked with York County, and actually I contacted the Coast Guard to see if they wanted to get involved, because Coast Guard has jurisdiction on this lake, which not too many people know. Whenever there's a lake on a border, it becomes a federal waterway. And so when it's a federal waterway, it's Coast Guard.
Oh my gosh.
They're not here very often, but they do have jurisdiction, and they are on the lake on the busy holidays.
So you say you get involved with some of these issues, because I know, for instance, an issue that's still unresolved is there are some homeowners out there who are getting sand, moving down from that Ebenezer beach, and it's coming up against their riprap and making a mess and what have you. You all involved with that?
That's really something that I would push back to Duke on, from the sedimentation and how it gets in the lake. In this case, it was put in there by, for the Ebenezer beach.
That's right.
It's really kind of a county issue and a Duke issue. We're aware of it, but if it doesn't get acted on, we can kind of encourage people to have a deeper conversation.
Yeah.
So, a lot of time, a good example of other sedimentation is upstream, like the South Fork. It dumps a lot of sedimentation into the lake, to the point where it kind of looks like a chocolate milkshake after a rainstorm. And we're working with the development along the shores to see if they put up the high hazard fences to make sure that doesn't end up in the lake. So, and we encourage the developers to do that. That's probably the top 5 things that we do, is we work with developers and report what we believe to be violations. And, county people get notified, and people can come out and have a conversation with the developer.
The last time I kayaked towards the north on Lake Wylie, which was a couple of years ago, I really was shocked by the role that sediment is playing in really slowly filling in the lake is what it's doing. And I saw all the construction going on up there, and they put these silt fences up, which I think is nothing more than cosmetic. That doesn't keep anything from rolling downhill. But you just referenced the fact that you're working to try to encourage developers, or requiring them to put real fences that bury down into the ground and keep that stuff in place.
There are various levels of silt fence. What we'd like to encourage is what they call double high hazard, and they're higher than normal. There's 2 fences, and they do stop silt. There's requirements at the state and county level. For these things, we encourage people to go a little bit beyond. And historically, I understood that York was not that great at it, but they are actually pretty good. And I think Mecklenburg is probably the highest standard, for developers to maintain their runoff. So I'm impressed with them. It's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. So take me back to the Coast Guard again. What would the Coast Guard? What kind of thing would trigger the Coast Guard to get involved in a matter on Lake Wylie?
A fatality, maybe. And there's been a number of them, but I mean, they're on the lake. They can stop anybody at any time. And typically what they're doing is they're inspecting the vessel to make sure that it meets requirements. If it turns out to be a charter, they're going to have a conversation with the captain to make sure that he's duly licensed and the vessel is, he's duly licensed for the vessel, and the vessel carries what it needs. But essentially they are, here only on the 3-day weekends, the high volume weekends.
Okay.
And, the vast majority of the enforcement on this lake is done by the marine divisions of the 3 sheriff departments.
All right.
vast majority, and the DNR, the Department of Natural Resources.
And for people who don't know, I even know this. I mean, you've got to have a certain number of life preservers on your boat, fire extinguisher, paddle, that kind of stuff. It's got to be there.
It's got to be there. And, one of the things that's happened over the last 18, 24 months is we got all these people who were homebound from COVID. And they got a little bored, and they went out and bought a boat. And they don't know anything about boating. And so they haven't taken boating safety courses. They don't know what they're doing. They're making epic mistakes. And sometimes you sit at the at the pier and watch these guys try to launch a boat, and it's entertainment at its best. So,
well, I can tell you,
just backing up a trailer is fun.
Yeah, unless you have one of these brand new trucks that backs it up for you automatically, backing up a trailer is fun. And launching a boat on your own is fun. Yeah. They've got some great videos online.
Absolutely.
That make a whole lot of sense. And they look good on film, but then when you go out and execute it yourself, make sure nobody else is at the dock so that you can embarrass yourself.
I will say this. I have been backing up trailers for 40 years. I'm not bad. I make mistakes, but I'm not bad. I can't figure out the system on my pickup truck that is automatic, that it's supposed to back up my trailer. So I just use manual.
So you paid all that money for that extra feature and you don't know how to work it.
Yeah, I hate to admit it, but yeah.
So the usage of the lake, I mean, the population is growing.
Yes.
Considerably. Here in York County, we're now right at 300,000 or a little bit above 300,000 people, which is amazing. And as you point out, we have a whole bunch of people buying boats. Whether they know how to use them or not, it's still creating a tremendous amount of activity. Yeah. And that lake gets really churned up on the weekends. Yeah. So does it reach a point where the Marine Commission is saying to itself, how are we going to control this? How are we going to limit the usage of this thing at certain times of the week or whatever?
I don't think that's in our scope. I mean, I know it's not in the scope that I've been in, and I'm the chairman of it. What we're trying to do is make sure that the people who are on the lake use it responsibly and safely. Whether that's encouraging programs from the Coast Guard Auxiliary and Power Squadron, the State Department of Natural Resources from the educational standpoint. Some of this stuff, to a large degree, moderates itself is probably the best word. Mm-hmm. People who are going to say, I'm not going to go out on a 3-day weekend. I'm not going to go out on a Saturday. They'll go out early or they'll go out late. It does somewhat self-moderate it, but I don't think there's a world in South Carolina or North Carolina that says you can't go out on the lake. We only allow X number of boats or X number of passengers. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, what will happen, it happens every season where somebody gets seriously hurt or they lose their life or whatever. And I guess that's the determining factor as to whether or not something else would happen in terms of control. If you had a whole bunch of this kind of stuff happening, somebody's going to step in and do something.
The tragedies that are out there, people say that's you only put the stoplight up, after you've had an accident at the intersection. I'm familiar with some of the South Carolina laws for boater education that took a decade, to get in place, and the guy that ran it, his son died 13 years ago. It took 13 years to change the boater education requirements in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. So it's not typically something that moves quickly at the legislative level. One of the things about the Marine Commission is we can write regulation for the lake, as long as it doesn't supersede the state requirements. And 2 years ago, we put in no wake and not just no wake, but the wakeboard limits that they have to be 200 feet from shore. And there was a South Carolina law that was implemented, but it was not in effect in North Carolina. So what we did, and we've never done it before, is we took our authority to write law and made it a lake regulation, not a South Carolina regulation. So if you're in North Carolina, you have to obey the same regulations in South Carolina because it is a lake regulation. And, that kind of helps because, that was really more of the no wake was a safety issue. If you're getting too close to a boat, that's one thing, or too close to property. The wakeboarding boats was more of a property damage issue that was being reported. And, so that addressed that. We're currently working on regulation for rentals and charters. That's more of a safety issue because we've got a lot of people on the lake that are renting boats and chartering boats, and they don't know what the heck they're doing. Law enforcement came to us and said, we don't have anything that we can charge these people with, and they're using public docks, which they're not supposed to, for commercial purposes. So, we took a page out of Lake Norman's laws, improved them, we think, and made them more enforceable. And we're working on those. Ideally, they'll be out, June, July timeframe.
So when you promulgate a regulation,
yes,
how do you get the word out to these? All these people.
By the way, those laws that allow us to do this stuff in both states, they tell us exactly how to do this. One of the things they didn't tell us is a mistake that was made earlier. What we do is we start with the law enforcement community.
Okay.
And say, if we write this law, will you enforce it? Because if you're not going to enforce it, nobody's going to waste their time.
Right.
And then, that was exactly how we started with this. So we went to the different sheriffs and said, you guys can enforce this. And they said, yeah. And then we went to the county commissions of Mecklenburg and Gaston and York and presented it to them and said, hey, just a heads up, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. Once we got there, heads shaking up and down, we're like, okay, now we can go and we take it to them in draft form. And, at that point, we'll have a commission meeting, public hearing. They can talk. People can come and say we agree, we disagree.
Okay.
And then there's a very specific process about 10-day notification,
Gotcha.
and it's got to be published in papers. We have a press release on it, so it's. And then we typically post these things, and I think it's a requirement that we post them at the marinas, at the launches. So. Good. Yeah, it's a process that has been well thought out and outlined. So.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take our mid-program break. Remind everybody that you are listening to Straight Talk live from Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop, presented by Founders Federal Credit Union, Relax Here with Founders, and by Anderson Griggs Investments at Old Town Rock Hill. Common sense, intelligent advice for conservative investors. You can find out more online at andersongriggs.com. Our thanks as well to Piedmont Medical Center, a community built on care. You can find out more about them online at PiedmontMedicalCenter.com. Okay, Ray, we're all set for this now. We make fresh subs and salads. We do it 6 days a week here at Substation 2. Anybody who's anybody knows why they come here because of this magical formula. Are you all ready at the count of three? 1, 2, 3. Slice, slice, slice. Garden, garden, garden. Back after these words.
If it's 12:30, it's Straight Talk on WRHI and CN2.
Have you ever wondered why so many people enjoy dining at Substation 2?
It's just always a great, consistent meal.
Enjoy the Italian sub with salami.
I enjoy just the atmosphere.
I'm Charlie Ruffalo, and I guarantee you'll feel the same way after eating here at Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop.
Emergency care close to home. The team at Piedmont Medical Center has the advanced training to handle your medical emergencies, and we're making it easier for you to access care every day. For non-life-threatening problems, online ER check-in is available at all our emergency room locations, meaning less waiting room time, more peace of mind. Simply visit PiedmontMedicalCenter.com, pick a time you want to be seen, and then wait at home while we hold your place. For life-threatening emergencies, call 911. Piedmont Medical Center, a community built on care.
There are very few genuine money managers in America, and one just happens to be your neighbor. If you have $100,000 or more, call the professionals at Anderson Griggs Investments and see what a money manager can do for you. Anderson Griggs, 324-5044, or go online to andersongriggs.com.
Relax with a discounted mortgage rate from Founders Federal Credit Union without paying for discount points. For a limited time, don't pay the 1% fee and get the lower rate. And don't forget, Founders never charges for PMI or private mortgage insurance. Unlock your dream home with a great rate and a Founders expert to guide you through the home financing process. Stop by a convenient office location or apply on Founders online by May 31st to lock in your lower rate. Visit foundersfcu.com/mortgage to learn more. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required. Equal housing lender.
When disaster strikes, one of the most important things is getting life back to normal. A little compassion can go a long way. Paul Davis is here for you. Paul Davis is committed to handling any property damage with exceptional care because what we do is about more than property. It's about people. We have the training and expertise necessary to completely restore your property fast. For all your cleanup and restoration needs, call the experts at Paul Davis Restoration at 329-1140 or find us online at pauldavisrockhill.com.
Have you ever wondered why so many people enjoy dining at Substation 2?
Love the bread. Number 19's the best.
Fresh, delicious bread.
It's fresh.
The food is really good, and it's a great price.
I'm Charlie Ruffalo, and I guarantee you'll feel the same way after eating here at Substation 2, Cherry Road, across from Winthrop.
Straight Talk on WRHI FM 100.1 and CN2 is brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders.
And back we are here at Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop. The chairman of the Lake Wylie Marine Commission, Mr. Ray Weber, is with us today, learning all about the commission, what they do, what they don't do. It is interesting. You are a bi-state authority that has representation from all three counties that have a piece of this lake. But it's not your lake.
Nope.
It's Duke's Lake.
It is Duke's Lake.
Okay.
In every way.
In every way. So when you promulgate, again, a regulation like this, in terms of wakeboards or rentals or charters, all that kind of stuff, Duke doesn't really give a hoot about that, do they?
We do talk to them about it.
Right.
They don't have an enforcement function. So they
on the water they don't.
Yeah, I suspect they probably could object to it.
Right.
But I don't think that they would, and we would never come to them with something that was, something that was objectable.
So do you have a go-to person that you talk to there, or is it?
There's a number of them depending upon the issue.
Okay.
Yeah, and we get conversations about, hey, the lake's low. That's one contact. Hey, we've got a floating dock, in the middle of the lake from a rainstorm. That's another contact. Yeah. So it's a big organization.
Well, let's talk about lake levels because we can remember, oh, my God, was it 10 years ago, 15 years ago when the lake literally whittled right in front of our eyes? And I remember walking out on my partner's dock, and I could walk out on the ground. I swear I could walk out there, I don't know, close to 100 yards on dry dirt.
Yeah.
So I think we all learned a valuable lesson there.
I think it's a question we get a lot, and as much as I can, I push it to Duke. But I do know I've had enough presentations from Duke that this lake is fed by the mountains and the runoff into the Catawba River chain. So if we get in a drought and it's not getting rejuvenated, then the lake goes down. There's a requirement to let X amount of water through the dam. But it's a FERC requirement.
Right.
So they have to let it from an aeration standpoint downstream for the Catawba River.
Sure.
There's various levels that they can, once you get into a drought, and they drought level 1, 2, 3, whatever, they can reduce that based on their FERC agreement. But at the end of the day, if there's not water coming in, it has to go downstream.
Right. So when you get calls about lake levels, this is from boaters, or is this from kayakers or tubers, or?
It's everybody. The majority of it is probably residents that live along the lake, or somebody that just hit a rock that they didn't know was there 2 months ago. But we get them from everybody.
Because I know at the dam they have on their website they've got release dates,
release schedules,
release schedules, yes. So.
But we get them from everybody, and Duke is the same answer. It's like
okay.
We're a rain-fed lake, and if there's no rain,
right,
and you can only have it so high.
So it wasn't too many years ago that the Catawba River was labeled as the #1 most endangered river in the country. I don't know whether that's changed radically, but is that an issue that you get involved with?
I am not aware of that. So this, again, I only go back to 16, so some of that may predate me. I would not be surprised that it is an endangered resource for the reason that I said. There's nothing upstream besides snow in the winter, and there wasn't any this year, and rain in the mountains throughout the year, and then rain into the Catawba River basin. So, when you get past that, it becomes a question of what is endangering it, sedimentation, pollutants. A lot of the sources of pollution, besides some agribusiness, is pretty much gone. the coal-fired plants are, going away so.
But you got sewage disposals, which are highly regulated. I got all that.
The water that comes out of those is pretty clean.
Yeah, it is.
It's more of a runoff issue, I think. I wouldn't drink at the base of a sewage system, but some of these guys say you can. So,
yeah. So right now, right at this point, what do you have a couple of big issues that you're dealing with?
Yeah, we always do.
Yeah.
This regulation is huge, and we want to get that on the boat, on the books. We've got some invasive species issues that continue to plague. There's a Lingbia is it's a type of bacteria, I believe, but it's in Lake Norman. It's in around the Raleigh area, up in the lakes on the border there, and it's a very toxic organism, and you got to kill it. And there's no really good way to kill it. So what you do is you really kind of manage it until they find a way to kill it.
Right.
So invasive species have a tendency to write up our list of to-dos real fast. Whenever the water gets low and the temperature gets hot, a lot of the different bacteria kind of blossom in that stagnant water. And so we really watch that. The folks at both the state Departments of Natural Resources and the Charlotte water guys are sampling the water all the time for us. They're identifying it. And then, we're making it public to the, we're making that public to the public. One of the other reasons to make it, and that's ongoing.
Sure. Any complaints about alligators?
It's one of the reasons that we moved here instead of Lake Murray. Is my wife is definitely
afraid of alligators. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
So.
Well, our half hour is blown by. I hope we can do this again.
Yeah,
very
you.
interesting.
Thank you very much.
His name is Ray Weber. He's the chairman of the Lake Wylie Marine Commission, and it's been an interesting program.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have you here. And that's going to wrap up our Straight Talk program live from Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop. Presented by Founders Federal Credit Union, Relax Here with Founders, and by Anderson Griggs Investments at Old Town Rock Hill. Common sense, intelligent advice for conservative investors. You can find out more online at andersongriggs.com. Okay, Ray, you are now certified as an official Substation 2 greeter, right?
Absolutely.
We want to tell everybody what we do here. Fresh subs and salads. We do it 6 days a week between 10 a and 9 p. And how do we do it? At the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Slice. Not bad. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow. Bye.
There are lots of reasons why people like dining at Substation 2.
A good deal for a delicious sandwich. Quality of the food. I get what I want. It tastes great every time.
Hit the spot, definitely. It's amazing.
I'm Charlie Ruffalo, and I guarantee you'll feel the same way after eating here at Substation 2, Cherry Road.
South Carolina's most honored radio station, News Talk 100.1 WRHI Rock Hill.